Daisy chains and sweet champagne, and 2 days alone with you. Not too far from the city by car, or maybe we can make a more romantic trip by train to the country. It's where I want to be with you for the week.
Welcome everyone. Welcome to Heritage Homestead Creations, and of course my old channel, the real Erin.scott. I think I may be posting this video on both channels. I want to try some new things with my videos to see how things work, considering the challenges that we have with our videos today. But we're back today to start our next fun project. I've been promising you guys for a long time, since we built the bandsaw blade sharpener, the automatic bandsaw blade sharpener. I will leave a link to that video in the description down below for those of you who haven't seen it. But it's getting around, and I'm getting some really good feedback on it from you guys, and I appreciate that. Some of the comments were already taken into account but had not been included in the video. Yeah, there's a lot of learning process when you build things like this from scratch. So today what we're going to do is we're going to get going on building the dual tooth setter. And I'm going to do this video like I did the last one as an instructional of how to, and I'm going to walk you through my thinking process on all the different parts and functions. It's not as complicated as the blade sharpener. There was a little bit more to it than this, but there are a few things that we want to look at different ways about going about it. And your thinking process, because just like with the bandsaw blade sharpener, you might not be able to get the same kinds of materials or the same amount of material or whatever, and you may have to improvise. The real question is, can you think around it in order to get the same function? And look, we've been in and out of rain all morning long here, so I might have enough power to actually get to going. You know, I'm off grid. My solar system's under that plastic right there, trying to keep it clean. And I'm getting set up to start on this thing. I'm not exactly sure how long it will take to get this thing done, but we're just going to get at it. Hey, buddy, you want to come up here and say hi? You want to say hi? This is Smokey, everyone. He's my buddy. What do you think? He says it's playtime. It was raining a little bit ago. So we're going to do this the same way that we did with the last video. We're going to walk through the stuff that we need, the parts and the pieces and all that. And then we'll start putting things together. As it sits right now, I've kind of built most of it up here, kind of worked through a lot of it based on what I've seen as far as my references are concerned, and but I'm not 100% on everything, and I kind of got to feel through some more of it and how I cut metal and how I shape things. So let's get on with it, and let's take a look. Actually, we'll just pull it right up here. Let's take a look at what's available out there. So let me take you down here. Hold on, I'll get you dizzy. And the first thing we do for research is we get all our internet, whether it's on our handy or on our computer, and we want to learn. We want to see what has been done and how it's been done, and the way people have solved these issues up till now. Now, the big reason for us doing this together and me doing the video is because there are several of these dual tooth setters that are on out there on the market, and quite frankly, they're priced pretty high up there. And you know, for the amount of money that they're asking, it is more than high enough incentive to go getting it yourself and building it yourself. So I think it's possible that we could do this in a workable form with the materials, and we'll talk about this in just a second, to do what we want to do in such a way that we can do it in a decent budget. And I'm thinking, if you were to buy the materials that I have, and these are almost all scraps with the exception of a few things I did buy, I still think you could do this for well under $100 as far as buying the steel and stuff that we need. So that's a big incentive when most of these dual tooth setters are. Is that focused or not? It's not focusing. Or maybe it's my eyes. No, I don't have my glasses. I didn't put my reading glasses on. Alright, so let's take a quick look. You do a search for dual tooth setter. You're going to come up with a bunch of different videos. And a couple of guys out here like this fella that's done a pretty decent job right here. This guy. Of making his own. And there are some others. There's some other hand-done ones. And just like I said in the previous video, there's a bunch of guys that have just bought the commercial ones. And, oh, look what I got. I bought it. Let's put up a 5-minute video. Well, that's not very helpful. So, you want to watch these all. And the reason you want to watch them all is because you want to understand the function of all the different parts and pieces and the way they're going to work to serve the purpose of setting each tooth. There's also a lot of information, and this video right here, and I don't want it to play. Don't play. Don't play. Don't play. All right. Don't want any copyright strikes. This one goes through a lot of detail into the math and into the math and to the way that you set the teeth, the way I guess engineers have already kind of sorted through what tends to work the best for cut, what tends to work the best for chip removal or sawdust removal, and how the blade tends to move smoothly through the wood, in its tracking and as it's cutting. So this particular style of tooth setter is the one we're going to try and mimic in our build here, and the reason being is because it seems the easiest to duplicate. Now there's some other ones in there that are probably easier to build as far as materials and material costs, but I don't like the function as well and the sturdiness of the way it will perform the task. So let's see. Let's review. Let's take a moment here to review our materials of what I have for options. And remember, all of this is my scrap stuff that I picked up. It's getting really hard to do that. Getting steel right now is very challenging and very expensive. Finding a way to negotiate scrap for a lesser cost is a good way to do it if you can. Or recycle centers will often sell you back the metal per pound weight, and that's a good way to do it as well. However, I've had so many projects and I bought a lot of metal and I picked up scrap, so I've got a good array of stuff here, and we want to talk about what parts we need and what function that they're going to perform. So let's start with that. So my buddy there, Mike, over at Mr. Sawmill, the guy I bought the sawmill from in Flippin, Arkansas, who said he's not taking any orders now because he's so busy, allowed me to buy some scrap metal off of him. He uses these big C channels like this for the framing, for the length of the bed of the bandsaw. And he's got trimmings, and I got a few of them. One's a little bit bigger than the other, but this is what I think I'm going to use for the base. And so if you look in the video, you have several main parts of it. One is going to be the foundation that all the working pieces are attached to. I have, let's see, set that phone here. I have this piece of 1/4-inch plate steel. I have this piece of 3/16 plate steel, which I just used this for parts on the apple press, on the beam. And let's see, I also have some 1/2-inch angle, some 3/4-inch angle, some 1/2-inch tubing, some more 3/4-inch angle, a little bit of this tubing. It's 3/8 on the outside, on the inside. Use this for a hinge on the bandsaw sharpener. I have a few other plates of sheet metal, another 3/16 plate that was left over from the presses. I have some 2-inch, couple of pieces. I got these pieces of 2-inch from Mike out of his shop because he had a ton of it. He was using this 1-inch heavy duty. This is a heavy duty tubing for the rails to run the carriage head, the cutter head for the bandsaw on. He had some scraps of it. I've also got this, and it's a little bent, but there's enough in here for me to use. This is 3/4-inch tubing, and I think that's 1/8, or might be a little bit thinner than that wall. And I got some 1-inch channel, some 1-inch flat bar. I have some 1.5 inch. This is what we used for the guide rails for the blade in the the blade sharpener. This is the last I have of the 1.5 inch. Yeah, this is 1.5 inch. So I'm a little unsure as to what we're going to use for the guide. I think we're going to use the 2-inch, and that means we're going to have to pick the blade up. I do have my scrap piece of blade here so that I could use it for setup. And then I've gone ahead, and I also have this is 1.25 inch. I'm thinking this is going to be my jaws. I think I'm going to use one of these for my jaws. So let's go through what I'm going to use this stuff for, or what I think I'm going to use all of this stuff for. I think this is going to be my base. And for a moment, I was thinking I might go ahead and build two of these at once. And then I backed off that idea and said, let me just get one completed first. Because I think I got enough material here, except for the bolts and bearings, to do more than one. But I think I'm just going to stick with one till I get it right. So what I'm thinking is, if you look, let's see if I can pull this up here. And let me refresh this. Let's leave it muted. We don't need to hear the sound. Alright, so you see there's a base. You have the base, and that's the guide rail there, and then you have the setters, the two setters right there that are clamping in. You have a handle, and you got an advancing arm that's going to move the blade forward. You have a handle here that's going to actuate two levers, and you got ways to adjust it. They're showing you that now. Alright, so you got a blade height adjuster right there in front. We're going to look at that. And come on. So they're telling you the proper height. This is some good information to use. They provide a gauge block, but that's something you'll have to create on your own. You see they have two sets of pushers, one in the front and one in the back, and there's adjustments for either of those. I don't know if we're going to get that complicated with it. I wish I had the ability to produce it as nicely as this is, but I don't want to spend $1,200, $1,500 for one of these, but it's a nice unit. Alright, so we're going to want to be able to adjust. And that's what these are for here. And as a front and back, come on through, keep going. Alright, so you see he's got an actuating arm, and then he's got the lever. So there's the advancing arm, and then we got the lever that closes the two clampers on it. Okay, so no, I don't want you on. Alright, so let's talk about the parts. Here's going to be my base, and what I think we're going to do is use half of this plate to weld. Let's get this up here, and we're going to get the half of this plate to weld to the face. Maybe not that plate. Maybe this 3/16. This 3/16 fits on there just nicely. Alright, so this will be the face plate. This will be the top. Then I think we're going to use the 2-inch as our blade guides. Okay? I want to notch out in here. Somehow I'm thinking about notching out to allow the smaller angle iron come up in here and press out and set the teeth on the top. I've got the tubing to use as a hinge pin for the two arms that'll go on the faceplate. So with the faceplate welded here, those two arms will go on the faceplate to come together to set the teeth. These are going to be the teeth setter. So I got a 1/4 National Fine bolts to allow me for a little finer adjustment. I think I want to use the 1/2-inch tubing as my lever. I think I also want to use the 1/2-inch angle iron as the advancing arm, and then I'm going to put some kind of pin on the end of it to catch the tooth, similar to what they had. And let's see what else. I think I'm going to use a piece of the 3/4 inch angle iron on the front and the back, or back and front, whatever, of the angle iron guide rails, to put a screw in to adjust. I probably will have to drill a hole in here to adjust a screw from underneath on both sides to raise or lower the blade. Get something like that. The wheel bearings. Now, I had a hard time finding these, but I found them. These are wheel bearings that'll go into like a wheelbarrow or some kind of yard implement, you know, that allows you to. This is just a wheel bearing, but the thing about it is a 3/8 inner diameter and 1 1/8, and I really didn't care about the exterior because that's going to be the rollers. These are going to be the rollers that push the arms apart at the bottom to clamp them up top. You see that in the video. So we're going to do that, and I also got these bearing shoulder bolts to go into them so I can bolt them to the internal lever arm. I'm thinking I'm going to use either the 1-inch or the one or the other, 3/4 or the 1-inch tubing to make the lever arms that will get actuated to clamp the 2 setters in place. I think that's what we're going to do with that. And what else? I think that's pretty much it. All right, folks. Oh, and I got in my assortment of springs, I got some springs in here that'll work to pull the 2 arms together at the bottom. As you see in the video, there's a spring on the bottom of those 2 lever arms. Alright, it is hot, it is extremely humid, and I got sweat dripping off of me, so I haven't even gotten to work yet, and I'm already doing good. So let me get some pieces cut. I want to go ahead and I think I'm going to go ahead and get the base put together. We'll get that welded together. I'm going to get a couple rails cut. I'm not sure I'm going to weld them quite yet because, like I said, I think I want to cut a notch out for the 2 lever arms to come together on. I gotta think through that. That might take me a bit to think through that. The advancing lever arm will be an easy one. That should be pretty easy. I think I'm going to weld a little piece of that tube on the side of the angle arm as a hinge, another hinge pin for the advancing arm. Alright, well, let me get going now that I've thought through a bunch of this and get some pieces together and see what I can come up with. Alright, good morning everyone, or afternoon or evening, whatever. Hopefully it's good. It is a very beautiful morning. Yesterday we kind of had to cut things short, and I really didn't get a chance to do an update with you because we had a pretty good thunderstorm come through. The ground's all nicely wetted down and rained on. So when it came in, I worked as long as I could, but since I'm on solar, I kind of had to cut it short as soon as I got here. And it came in quick, so I needed to pack and go, and I couldn't kind of update you. So, and I probably wouldn't update you for a little bit, but since it's the next day, figured I'd give it a go. Show you where I'm at. And so yesterday, while I could, I started putting pieces together, and I've got a couple of these. These are the inch and 1/4 angle iron. These are going to be my jaws for actually setting the teeth, and my little adjustments are going to go my screws. And I went after the rain was here. It stayed cloudy, so I didn't really have power. So I went ahead and I went into town to the hardware store, and I picked up some more screws. Couple reasons why is these guys that I got. I was originally thinking I was going to mount them on the jaw, something like that, and that this nut might get welded on there. Now this is a 1/4 28 National Fine. When I went to the hardware store, I wanted to find some shorter ones, and I couldn't. So I got the next closest thing in metric. And the reason I'm doing this is I want fine threads, not coarse threads, so that makes adjustments a little bit better. But what I'll do with you, I did that for a couple reasons. One, unlike the other dual tooth setters that are set up and capable of handling different size blades, okay, so you got the 1.5 inch and the bigger, wider ones, and a different length of tooth. I don't need that because I will only be using this style of blade, and I won't need that for the others. And this is the most common size blade on most of your bandsaw mills that are out there. Most of the different brands use this until you get to a much bigger type of saw. So because of that, there's only two actual adjustments that I'm going to need here. One is going to be to adjust the blade height in my rails, okay? And the other is going to be to adjust the depth of set for the tooth. Now technically, that's not going to change very much very often, but once you start grinding your blade, you're gonna cut this down. You'll cut the gullet down, you'll cut the tooth down, and everything. This dimension right here will shorten a bit over time, which means you may want to raise your guide on either end to bring your blade up and down. So I wanted some shorter screws for that purpose, and so I got some of those. Now I do have a set of tap and dies that I can use for these, or because I think we're going to drill and tap those directly. So the wonderful thing about being a creator, many and most of you will know that a lot of your creation is done when you sleep. It comes to as visions of how things, because one, your mind wants to work it out, and two, when the universe wants to give it to you, give you the image of what you're trying to create or how to create it. It's when it comes in a lot of times. A lot of you folks will note that go to bed and can't sleep because all you got to do is think about this project, and sure enough, it all comes in. So mostly all I did yesterday was prepare some parts and pieces. There's that 1/2 inch tubing, that'll be my advancing lever. I've got a piece of the 1/2 inch angle that will be for the advancing lever rod to push with. I've got this piece, which I got to clean up, which is the 3/4 inch. This is going to get welded here, and this will be done prior to welding the entire structure to my foundation. One of the things I've noted is there's a bit of a concave surface on this, so let's be very careful not just welding these straight down, because it will open them up in this gap. So I'm going to have to weld these together, and I'm going to do that here with this piece, and I got to cut another piece here to weld it on this side after I get my jaw opening done here. Okay, so I'm going to have to cut this out for these pieces to come up in here like such. Alright, a little bit much to explain now, but once I get it all together and get some pieces together, it'll kind of make sense. One of the things I've also done is I've taken and I've ground, sorry about that, I've ground everything down to kind of smooth everything out using one of my sanding discs, because I want that blade to be able to move through here pretty cleanly. So I've been trying to clean the metal up, so all the surfaces that are going to be exposed to the blade riding on it, I want to make sure that those surfaces are smooth. Not that this will be. So I'll drill a hole in here for one of those screws to go in to adjust the height of the blade. And there'll be one on either side. So I've got a bunch of work to do here. It's going to take me quite a bit, We do have another chance of rain coming in a couple hours. I don't know how much we'll get done. We'll take it one step at a time. But now I see almost the entire thing built based on what I saw in my dream last night. And it's pretty nice. I think you all are going to like what gets done. So I answered. There's a bunch of questions I had, and I kind of answered that. And well, I think we're going to look good. So let me get a little further along and get some more work done on these pieces to show you what I'm coming up with. All right, let's take a quick look at where I'm at. I've got a lot of details to work over on this on the guide track, the blade tracking here. And so you can see, for the purpose of holding those angle irons in place and to put a little adjustment screw in here. Let's see, screw that all the way. So I've got the little metric tap run out me a little hole here. I guess it's a little tight on the threads there. But I'm going to weld this up here so that the flat of that, and I'll probably sand the top of that down smooth, nice and smooth. And I've got another piece cut for here. That one will go under here with a little head on it. And of course I've got some lock nuts to go underneath that to lock down the setting for it. And that should set the guide for holding the blade. That's very important. Now I've got, remember I told you in the last video, everything is about alignment. Align. Okay, so that's going to get welded there. I'm going to use this 3/16 plate to weld to the face right here, and I'll just kind of set it here. And then that should leave this edge that I've cut out here to be flush with the face of this once it's up against here, so that when my tubing is cut for my jaws, which are right here, so those will go, alright, let's see if I can get, those will go right there, and now the teeth will be a little bit nice and snug. And I'm actually going to clamp these in place on the blade when I go to weld the jaw arms, the arms for the jaw on either side. So this is where I'm at the moment. What I'll end up doing is drilling. Like this tooth will go that, this tooth will push that way, this tooth will push this way. So on this one I'm going to drill a hole here, and then I'm going to cut out an area that will just come just below the blade, tip of the blade, so that this has room to push the tooth over. And yeah, I got a lot of this worked out, my friends. It's just a matter of getting through the detail. I've got this configuration here is what took me a while to come up with it. So I like my guide here, so I'm going to weld the guides on either end first. Then I need to weld this plate on here from the inside, and once I get that, then I can tack down the rails, the guide rails here to my foundation plate, but not until then. But we're going pretty good here. Trying to make progress, and also trying to work with my community. Good gracious. Oh, love you guys. Every time we call, it's an hour long. It takes forever to work on this. But I love you guys, and always willing to chat with you. So, yeah, a little intermediate break on a phone call. Oh, my goodness. If I didn't know all of you, I might get some stuff done. All right, let me get some welds done and see what comes up of this. I wanted to note before I weld this, as you see, there's this piece of paper towel that's laid here beside the blade, and that's to give it just a little bit of playroom. Okay. okay? Because I don't want to weld this thing so tight I can't get the blade in and out. So I've added a little spacer. It's 1 layer thick. I tried 2 layers, but that was too gappy. And you can see it on this end. It's a little closer. It is just enough in there. And you do need a little bit of space in that. And even if maybe that's too much, if that happens, I could drill a hole through and tap out a screw that I could tighten and pull these together. I thought about that, but right now I kind of like the 1 sheet. That's what I used on my other, on the sharpener, and it made for a very nice gap and allowed it to slide very nicely. Alright, I've got the first part assembled and kind of tacked it together on 4 corners there to hold it in place. I got it just shy of the edge here so that my arms will actually slide on this plate, maybe, I'm thinking, to help keep it aligned truly, but we'll work on that here in just a second. My blade guide system, essentially the guide tracks here, I think are pretty much done. So you can see lightly ground that smooth so that there's no letters or bumps or anything. So that's actually going to sit there. I've got a lock nut underneath that locks it in place, and same thing, so that this piece is threaded and the lock nut's on it, so I can screw it up and then lock it down with the lock nut onto the braces here. So there you go. Ooh, see, look at that. Fall down in there. It's okay. It will never do that with a whole blade, but you see I can bring it up as this thing gets ground down. I can bring these 2 up with a couple of wrenches, or a wrench and a socket, which is what I used. But there you go. Do I need to weld any more here than the tacks? Maybe not, but don't feel good about really finishing it off until I get a little bit more done on it. But it's pretty simple. I may only put another couple of tacks in here just to kind of hold it in place. I mean, this thing's going to be pretty strong as it is. So now I think the next thing I want to work on are my jaws and the lever arms that the jaws will attach to. So got a little bit of cutting to do. Let me get that done and I'll be back in a sec. Alright folks, I have the tooth setting jaws made and clamped in place in preparations to build the arms that will go on them. So what I've got is, of course, I've got the track. It's in place. I've adjusted my running screws, my height depth screws, to where I'm just right about flush with the top of the 2 angle irons all the way across. And I've set the jaws in place, and you can see I've made them. I'm really kind of happy with the way they look, the way they're working, and I've got them just in place. So I got the blade clamped into place exactly where it will be when it needs to run. So what I want to do is locate the jaws right where they need to be. Oh, let's see if I can get this on the camera. You see how the screw is sitting right on the tip of the tooth? And you notice the cutout that I did in the angle iron to allow the tooth to be bent over is adjusted. I don't know if it's exactly at that height. What did they say in the video? 60 thousandths or something like that. I'm not sure if that's exactly right, but visually, a little further than halfway down that tooth. I think they were saying halfway, but I'm a little bit further than that. And I'm okay with it not being perfect. exactly with it. What I'm concerned about is that I get the location of alignment of the two screws. Let's see if I can see that here. To here. To each one of these teeth. And have this firmly, everything is held in place. Clamped down, soldered down. So everything is where it needs to be. So now I can work on these lever arms, get them in place, and be ready to tack weld everything in position where it wants to be when this thing is being pressed. That is going to be the challenge, the next big challenge. The advancing lever arm, which is over there somewhere, oh there, and the other piece over there, that'll be an easy one. I'm going to wait and do that to the last, because this right here is this is the working part that makes a difference. Now I got this set exactly where I want it, very nicely. Yeah, I'm very happy with this. Very nicely done. You know, if I'd had CNC machining, well, maybe I would have a little bit straighter cuts, maybe, but it's all by hand. And hey, I'm happy with it. So that's the next step. This is huge. Right here, what you're seeing right here is most of the critical stuff. The lever arms could be made in a variety of different ways, but this right here is what you're looking at is the most important aspect of it. A way to control and hold the blade in place. The advancing arm is going to be real simple. I'll have a stop up here for where the arm can push, you know, with a little lever right here, push the blade forward and hit a stop. The stop will be set exactly where it needs to be, so that the tip of the tooth is right in on top of the screw. Eventually, I'll adjust this depth of this screw here and this screw here to get the right amount of bend. It'll take a little bit to set it up. And then I'll have another stop for when this lever arm comes up, another stop so that I don't go back too far and grab too many teeth. So I'm going to go 3 teeth and push 3 teeth. Go 3 teeth and push 3 teeth. So that's the way we'll do that. But this is the next part, is to get these lever arms down here put together, and that won't be too hard. It's a bit of work, so let me get at it and I'll be right back with you. You know, folks, if I keep this shit up, I might actually get good at welding. Son of a gun, would you look at that pretty smooth weld. That's the next one over there, and then we'll cut them to length. Yeah, that's not bad, my friends. You know, these welds in there were pretty good too. I'm getting there. Alright, folks. There are my 2 lever arms. And I don't know. I like it. Actually thinking maybe this whole carriage head should have slid down further, because one of the things I was thinking about is leaving these lever arms flush to the plate here. That would help give them some alignment strength, so they wouldn't flop around. That's one of the things I was thinking. If that's the case, then I need to cut these, and I need to move it down what looks like a 1/2 inch. Now, the other thing I could do is raise these lever arms up off the plate a little bit. I could do that too. Not sure I want to do that, but I could do that. So here's what my next step is. I've got to cut, where'd you go? My tubing. So I'm going to cut some pieces of the tubing to sit in probably right in the angle, because that'll also give strength to that piece. And get that thing aligned in here. So I'd cut a piece, you know, about just a hair over an inch. That's an inch, so I'd want it a hair over an inch, and I'd put it right in there. And what I would do is drill and tap that for a 3/8 inch bolt to go through the hole here, and then I would tack weld the, let's see if that will stand. This is how I'm going to mount it. Well, no, it's not going to stand. Anyway, I tack weld it to the lever arm on the upper and lower side, and maybe run a bead around the outside edge here, and the same thing here. So my 2 hinge points would essentially be, you know, right down in there, and it gives me a lot of leverage to put my spreader with the bearings in the middle down here. See that? It gives me some room for that. However, my thought would be, what do I do to make sure that, because each of these would be on the lower side of the jaw, that maybe I wouldn't get the same amount of pressure on this tooth as I would get on this tooth, because it would be in alignment with the center of pressure. Being that it's all steel and you're only bending the tip of that tooth, it may not be an issue. May not have to even think about it. Right? So, I don't know. I got some other scrap pieces that I could use to lay in here underneath the 2 arms and kind of raise them up to center this arm in the center of the jaw. That would look better, but then again, I can also do that by cutting these and sliding it down on here. That I'm almost liking better. So I'm kind of liking that idea. Yeah, I'm definitely liking that idea better. So, all right. So what else what are we doing? Okay, so I got to cut 3 pieces that are a little over an inch. One for this hinge point, one for this hinge point, and one are in the center of the plate for our spreader arm, where the little handle is that's going to run between them. And then we'll have to make the advancing handle here. We're almost there. You know, we're not. And fortunately, I got good sun on my panel, so I got lots of power, and I'm trying to use it as much as possible. So, yeah, let me do that. I think that's what I'm going to do. I think that's exactly what I'm going to do. It feels good. Cut these 4 spots. Slide this down. Cut my hinge pins. I really like that, and then we'll use a shouldered 3/8 inch bolt in order to. I might have to. Well, let's see if we can find them. I don't know if I've got any of those or not. I know I got a bunch of new bolts in here. Oh yeah, we got some. Oh yes, we do. I can see it right there. Oh, I love that. That's exactly what we need right there. And I need 2 of them. 3 of them, actually. 3 of them. There's another one, and there's another one. Voila. That's perfect. Gives me enough bearing surface on those, and I can cut off the excess bolt on the back side of that plate. I think we're doing good. All right, let me get back to it. Alrighty. I'm feeling pretty good about this. Alright, so I took a piece of that 1 inch flat bar to use to go across the top of these bolts. You can see the tubing around the bolts. I've drilled and tapped. That was a little bit of a pain in the butt, but I got it. The 2 holes, or these 2 bolts, they go through inside the channel. So on the inside, I will put a nut up against it to lock it in place so that I can back it off just enough so this will move. Now, what I'm trying to do is 2 things. position this so that I'm ready to weld. As you can see, you know, I've brought it down, re-tack welded it in place so that my arm is in the center of the jaw and the tooth setters, so that I can split my pressure equally. With the C-clamp holding these tight, I'm going to weld the inside of this hinge and this hinge, and then in and around here a little bit, and get it tacked in there in place so that everything is positioned properly when I basically lock it down. So I got my hinges put in place, I got my chucks put, jaws, my tooth setting. It's hot, folks. It's humid. Good sun though. It's just I'm tired. It's been a long day. This isn't the only thing I've done. I had several phone calls from my community family members here, and it's still getting quite along here. Good journey, good day, beautiful day. I do think I need to get a drink though. I'm starting to feel dehydrated, so I think I'll do that before I weld this. But there you go, my friends. This bar will help, even though these two bolts will be strong. When I get my my lever arm in here and it starts to spread these to clamp this up here, when I get that in place in here, it's going to put a lot of pressure out here. That pressure is going to be applied to here. When this becomes and desires to be the fulcrum point, the pressure will go to these two nuts. In order to keep bolts, in order to keep these from spreading, I've put this 1-inch flat bar on top of it, so that'll hold the tops of these bolts together and make it much stronger. So we're pretty much there with that part. I just need to tack them together. I think I'm gonna go get a drink first, and then I think, what's the next step? I think the next step is we'll work on our lever arm for the center there. How's that sound? Because like I said, this advancing arm here, that's pretty easy. I think we can get that pretty quick. Then after that, I can take these apart, take these things apart, and give them a nice squirt of paint, and we'll look good. We'll look good. You know, I tell you what, I could see making these things and selling them. But I'm telling you, for as easy it is to make, you know, all you need is a good cut-off wheel, a grinder, and to get the metal, as easy as this is to make, now that I've gone through and worked through a lot of these issues and measurements and whatnot, I think anybody can do this. I think everybody ought to try it. At least all of you out there that got a bandsaw and need a tooth setter and a blade sharpener, you can do this. Let's stop paying huge amounts of money to corporations. You know, I'm all for people being inventive and selling a good product, but I'm also for everybody who can getting off their duff and becoming their own craftsman, their own worker, their own creator. Alright, time for a drink. Alright, that was a little tougher than I thought, because it did something that I know happens, but I wasn't thinking about it. So I tacked inside here first. When it did, that pulled this out and it pulled that out. So I was left with a gap in here, and I just filled it with the weld. But there's an importance. There is an importance. Alright, are you going to move? There we go. There's an importance of, come on. Why are you not, what are you not hitting on? Alright, don't slide off on me. Ah, goodness. This thing's gotten heavy. Alright, why aren't you, oh, it's probably hitting on there. Anyway, there's an importance for having everything in place when you weld it. Now, I just popped it out of there. Yeah, it's, for whatever reason, the movement in the metal, it doesn't want to come in here. I'll have to fine tune that, a little grinding or sanding or something to get it, but it's tight. You can feel it. It is snug in here. And I had it. No, I got it. I can feel it. It's hanging up right in there. Not sure why, but it's good. It's where it needs to be. It's tight. I just got to fudge with it a little bit. It might be all I do today. It's about time to start feeding them guys down there, these guys up here, and cleaning all this up. It's been a long day. I've gotten a lot accomplished, and I'm feeling good. Which means we should be able to finish this tomorrow fairly easily. So let's not overwork it today, shall we? I'll clean up, get these adjustments so this thing is moving smoothly, because it was up in there. But you know, metal moves when you heat it, and sometimes you got to do a little sanding and grinding. But I'm very happy with where it's at, and everything else is just an adjustment. So you see how that works, my friends? Isn't that awesome? Yeah, clean that up a little bit. Maybe. Oh, wait. That's what's happening. Almost there. No, I still got to grind. Got to grind down in there somewhere. All right. I'll get that cleaned up, and then tomorrow we'll pick up with the advancing arm and the spreading lever. All right. Catch you tomorrow. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. It is Sunday, and it was a good day yesterday. I got a lot done, and another beautiful day. Crystal clear blue skies. It's actually blue. Lighter blue than it used to be, but it's still blue. Anyway, I'm out here. I've already gotten a good bit done this morning, and before I finish this off, I want to bring you up to speed on where we're at. As you can see, grab a hold of that. Dang, that thing's heavy. Will you stand? Yes, you will. All right. So last night I took the clamping arms with the setting heads, the two setting heads off, and I cleaned them up and painted them. Probably a little preliminary, too early to do that, but I did it anyway because I like to. Finished welding them because I had to finish welding them, so I took them off. And then I also had to make some adjustments even this morning, because when I went through on the inside here, the bead on the inside bulged out enough to where it was striking the guide rail, and that's not good. So I had to do some grinding on it, and then I got them bolted back in place and realigned and clamped back together. Again, when I put something in place, I want to make sure it's exactly where it wants to be when I weld it and whatnot. So same thing goes for this. So this is where I'm at this morning. I have created the lever arm, or the roller arm, I should say, the roller for putting the pressure on this. And I've set that it's not exactly tight, but I've taken a piece of this 3/4 inch tubing, or 3/4 inch angle, and I've drilled and tapped for the 5/16 hole. I did a 3/8 clearance for the bolt to go through. I've tapped the plate so that it all rests in there. And what I'm wanting to do, since this bearing has a little lip, I want that to ride right on the edge of this radius right here. You see that, folks? It's just going to sit snug as a bug in a rug. Now, I still have to weld this, and I just finished. Is this still kind of warm? This is my handle, so I'm going to take this off and weld this on here. So this will be my handle that I use to press it down on. So there's going to be a lot of leverage here. There's a leverage in this arm to push this. This is levered here, to push that. So you'll be able to put a lot of pressure on there, and hopefully it doesn't take too much physical force to do it in order to get just a little teeny bend that you need. But that's where we are. Pull this off here in a second, and then I'll weld this, clean it up, paint it, and then have it ready to bolt back on. I've also did this part. This is going to be the lever arm for the indexing of the teeth. And another one of those 3/8 pieces of tubing, just tacked on there. You know, it's not that much to it. Anyway, folks, there we go. I like this. I like how it's come out. It's going to be challenging to get this welded, because I'm going to have to weld it in here onto the tube while it's in place where it needs to be. Make sure everything's in the right angle. But we'll get that here in a minute, and I'll have to take these two off in order to do that. So, it is already upper 80s. I think it's probably 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning. Plenty of good sun, all the power I want in my solar panel. And I am already drenched in sweat. Is that humid out here, my friends? But I'll take it because it makes things grow. Alright, let me get this put together now that we've got it. A couple quick notes now that I'm thinking about it. When I set this piece, I cut it to the exact gap when it was perpendicular. So I wanted to make sure that this piece was only the length of the inside from here to here. And you notice when I mounted the bearings, I did so just a little bit extended there. Okay? And the reason is, when I want this thing to contact, I want it at almost its apex. I could probably over lever that and cause it, I could probably over level this and cause it to spread and have these bearings roll through. I don't want to. I want it just at its maximum pressure. And I'm hoping I've thought through this enough for that. But we'll have to see. If not, I'll end up remaking this piece right here and making it even wider so that I know that I got a good lock on it. But we'll have to see. I think my gut is right on this, but we'll know when I'm done here. Alright, we'll be back in a minute. Oh, lordy, folks, it's done got hot out here. Beautiful, but hot. Alright, so, surprise. There are all our parts and pieces, our parts that we've made. And I've done a little touch-up painting, painted everything, and let it set out in the sun, baked it, and now it's dry, but it needs to really kind of harden up. So, there you go, folks. That's it. Along with these screws and bearings and some springs. Got an interesting way of taking care of some of the return pressure on both the lever arms, and we'll show you that here in a minute. But I am, for all intents and purposes, done with the building side of things, and now all I got to do is put it together. So I'm going to go eat some lunch, and we're going to let this dry, and then when we get back, let's see what it looks like together. Alright, I feel much better now. Lunch is over, and it's time to start assembling this thing. So before I do, I want to take a quick look at something here. I want to show you, and it's not going to be, well, I guess actually it is kind of easy to see. Go on, get in my ear, bug. There is a area right here that I ground down to thin down this top, and I did it on both sides. Let's see. You can kind of see that angle change in the grind there. Okay, I did that so that my little push fork would sit here. There we go. Would sit on top of there the way I wanted it to. It would sit further down on it. There was a lot of grinding and polishing and smoothing and adjusting to get this to ride like it could. Now, I could have just drilled a hole and run a bolt or a rod or push pin through it, so there'd be a pin that would ride along here. Many of the others do that. I like this. This is my way of doing it. You may wish to change that up and do it your way with the pin, but this, I just like it. Also on this hole, I did a clearance hole. Ow, that's my kneecap. Clearance hole on this side, and I tapped and threaded that side so that the bolt can actually screw in to this portion over here. One of the things I did on a lot of these holes that I drilled was to drill and tap the hole so that the bolt itself would actually thread right into the piece of metal. So that's like that, that's like that, that's like that, and even these. So this is drilled and tapped here, and that one there, and that one there. And that's so that, because these are hinge pins, so these are going to act as hinge pins, okay? Because they're acting as hinge pins, I don't want to clamp the bolt down completely, so I want to thread it in, have it held by my workpiece, and then tighten up a screw on the other end to lock it down so I can just snug up what I need. So it's a different technique of doing things, but that's how I'm doing it, and understand that you could do something different, but for me, this is it. So those are the tweaks that I've done. Now let me get it put together and see how it looks in completion. Alright folks, now that we have it all together, it's time to wrap her all up and take a look at how this thing works. I've set it up here on the table. Put a couple of boards on here for the moment. It will need some supports in some form or fashion made for it, but we'll do that at another day. Everything here is pretty much ready to go, and I don't know if I need to necessarily put the supports together for this, if I can just do what I've got right here. This band needs to be compressed a little bit to help it flatten out on this side to make it easier to go through. It has a little bit of tension in it, but if I leave it out, it really kind of tightens up and binds up, and it makes it a little bit more difficult. I want it to flow pretty much smoothly through here. And yeah, so let's just take a look. Let's set it. Let me put you right here. And so I get it set up and I get it aligned so that I've got my first tooth aligned with my screw here. The first tooth that goes that way and the other one that goes that way. I will take, and I'm going to mark my blade somehow so I know where I started and stopped. Now, this is going to take a little coordination in order to get used to the rhythm, but once I press this and set these teeth, okay, I press and set those teeth, and I have, where'd you go? Where'd you go? Oh, it's over here. I have checked and set this for the proper curve. The blade itself is 41 thousandths thick, and I need about a 24, 25 thousandths offset. So that would put me somewhere around 66 thousandths reading once I've done that. Now I've run a few of these and I've checked it, and yes, that's what I'm getting for the offset. So considering that it's extraordinarily hot, I'm getting to the point where I can't think too well because of it. So I'm just going to wrap this up and show you how it works. So I'm going to press these two. I'm going to let off. I'm going to advance. I'm going to press these two. Pull back. Let off. Advance. Press these two. Hold it. Because sometimes if it's too loose, this thing, because of the pressure on it, has wanted to pull the blade back a little bit, and I don't want to do that. So I'm trying to feel this thing out. It's all sticky from the new paint and such. But I'm going to press, open it up, push forward, hold, press. Oh, it is going to do it okay. Press, 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 press. Oh, I've come off my support over here. Yeah, I definitely need to get some rails, some guides. Press, 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 press. There you go. So just that simple. So my friends, long day, and unfortunately I'm sweating so bad that my clothes are completely soaked. I need to get some more water. So I'm going to wrap this up with saying a couple of things. First, as far as I'm concerned, this is open source, which means if you choose to follow my path and take and try and build one the exact way that I did, feel free to. Anybody from China or anywhere else deciding to take my exact design and build them to sell them, or even if it's here in America, you build to sell them, you better contact me about giving me a little kickback on this. Just that simple. Other than that, I really hope you enjoyed. I hope many of you will try this and maybe make upgrades like making that adjustable or whatever else you feel it might need. I was thinking maybe a wooden handle up here would be kind of nice. But please, if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button to both of my channels, considering my first channel was taken down through censorship. So I've got the Heritage Homestead Creations and of course my real Erin.scott channel. And if somebody's new here, we talk about a lot of stuff, especially about how to be self-sufficient, how to be able to make stuff, build stuff, grow stuff, feed yourself, live off-grid on solar, everything that we can do for self-sufficiency. And being able to do this is part of that, especially if you can do it for the budget on this. And looking at this and thinking about the cost, if you had to buy this metal, you might spend $50. It was all scrap for me. The only thing I bought was the hardware. Of course, the springs were pennies because they come in that packet, and the cotter keys and the bolts and stuff. I don't think we have $60 or $70 in this. Maybe we do. Anyway, folks, I am so totally drenched with sweat. Nasty. Please hit the thumbs up, subscribe to both channels because it will be on both channels. And oh my God, I hope you enjoyed this for as much of a sweat house as. Oh, y'all take care. What do you think, folks? 2.5 days and we got her done.